jarring opening, just like the movie. Guys, we're back with This is the Waypoint. Very special episode. We're ramping up into Star Wars season. Andor is on. By the time you watch this, Andor will be a week out. So we thought, why not do a little Rogue One retrospective rewatch? It's been 6 years.
Replay.
This December. Replay. Fuck, we're getting old. 6 years since Rogue One. God damn. I'm joined by the regular cast, the boys you know and love. I got Jim Tasty. I got Rumble Pack. I got Alec Bobco. How y'all boys doing?
Hey, this is Crystal Pack, aka Rumble Pack 90, broadcasting live from the beaches of Scarif. And let me tell you, there is so much happening right now. There's stormtroopers and AT-ATs and lasers. And what are you, blind to play the garrison? I'm good, man. How you doing?
Shields are down. Shields are down.
It's pandemonium out here. Back to you, Josh.
Oh my God! Up here, we got word that the rebels are trying to get a message off planet. We don't know what that is. Maybe they're putting their Taco Bell order in. Maybe they're trying to get some secret plans for hyperspace tracking. We don't know. Send nuggies. Boys, I've watched this movie for the second time. But I want to know.
I'm gonna ask. This was your second time, right?
This was my second time. I want to just a quick go round. You know, how many times have you seen this? How have your thoughts changed over the last 6 years? Brett, let's start with you. Do you think upon rewatching this is better than Attack of the Clones? Let me know.
That's tough, man. That's tough. It's like, trying to pick your favorite kid, comparing apples to oranges, people need food and water to survive. You can't really pick one or the other. It's impossible.
You can pick some food, some water.
You know what's funny about apples and oranges is they're both fruits.
Fruits. You can have one or the other, Yeah. What watch is this for you? Like, do you know what watch through?
I don't know. I know I saw it in theaters twice when it originally came out. I've had to watch it since then, probably like 4 or 5 more times. Yeah, nice. So probably like my 8th rewatch. Yeah.
So how after 6 years, how you feeling about this movie? You still high on it?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's the best Star Wars movie since Disney bought the company. I think it does a fantastic job of honoring the universe and what came before while adding, some new things. I think the set design is fantastic. Like, and I'm not trying to, say anything about nothing, but this movie felt way more real than some of the other newer Star Wars movies to me. I think the cinematography was gorgeous. I really bought in. I felt this way before too, but with the Cassian character, Jan Erso not so much, but she has some nice, inspiring speeches at the end, so it's not so bad. I think Michael Giacchino. I don't know if I'm saying his right name. He did an awesome job with the sound. Giacchino. He did an awesome job with the soundtrack. Obviously not John Williams, but he still did pretty dang good. And then, my God, ecstasy with the Darth Vader scene at the end, and even watching it now, 25,000 times later, still hits, man. That's what the money shot. We needed that.
I also just wanted to interject too on the Michael Giacchino thing. Handpicked by John Williams to do the soundtrack for this movie. By the way, like he was. Cool. Giacchino is essentially John Williams's understudy's not the right, like protege. He trained under Williams for a long time when Jurassic World was happening. Williams also picked him to go do that because he thought he could kind of fit that the best. And so handpicked by John Williams to do the soundtrack for this movie.
Awesome space battle too. Return of the Jedi is still up there as one of the best Star Wars space battle, but I think this one does a pretty good job as well. Awesome Easter eggs too, adding little nuggets for people to like, oh yeah, like I know that guy or I see that ship. Yeah, Ghost is in there. It's just an awesome movie, man. Awesome movie, and pairs well with A New Hope, obviously, so you can jump right into that one immediately after. So
quite literally, awesome. Right into it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like 10 minutes
Chris,
later, yeah.
Chris, give it to me, baby.
Absolutely,
how many times have you seen this? Thoughts?
Okay, so how many times have I seen this? So I saw it 3 times opening weekend.
God dang.
In theaters. So I saw it the night it came out, like the 7:30 showing or whatever, right? Went and saw it with my friends. I saw it that Friday night with my in-laws, and then my family lived in Hawaii at the time, so this was one of the Christmas time movies. So I went to go visit my family in Hawaii. I left Ohio and went to Honolulu on Saturday. Went to go see it again with my family on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I think I saw it one more time after that too when it hit the dollar theater. But as far as like home views, too many to count. I think if I realistically looked at it, probably somewhere in the 20s or 30s. I've seen this movie a bunch of times. It was one of my comfort movies, like go to, just like it's a rainy day and I want to put a movie on. I'm gonna watch Rogue One, right? It's easy to just kind of put on and vibe to. It was also for a few years my May 4th Star Wars of choice, right? So yeah, I've seen this one a few times. As far as has my opinion changed on it? No, not really. This was one that if anything, I probably enjoyed it more since I first saw it. I definitely agree with Brett in that there's something that just feels really real and grounded about this movie in a way that a lot of, I'll even go outside other Star Wars or just like other movies like struggle with capturing. And I don't know that I'd be able to pin that on one specific thing that works. It's something about the set design and the color grading and the cinematography and costuming and all of these things work together so well that just feels so lived in and real and in a way that just speaks straight to my soul. Like we were talking about set design in particular, it's so cool. I mean, a lot of people tend to be like, I'm tired of Rebellion era Star Wars and stormtroopers and Death Stars, and like I'm tired of it. But I don't think I'll ever get tired of it because I like that this put that it put us in that time period, but gave us all of these new places and people to see. Jeddah was really, really cool, especially like the city of Jeddah was incredible. The ring of Caffrine that we first meet Cassie and Andor on is really, really cool, almost like Guardians of the Galaxy-esque. That opening planet, right, with the black dirt and mountains and the bright greens popping up off against that. It's just visually absolutely stunning. To the point where, yeah, I just think that it's a masterclass in cinematography and action, more so than anything else. The characters they're there. They are what they are. So most of them aren't the most interesting things in the world, but I'd also argue that it's not necessarily about that. It's more of kind of everything else that goes on in the story. And yeah, I love it. I love the way that it recontextualizes A New Hope. I love what it adds to the universe without detracting from it. And yeah, great movie. Good stuff.
Oh yeah. Alec, give it to me.
So I remember seeing this in theaters. I went with my dad after he picked me up literally right from work, and we just drove right to the theater and saw it. Not sure if it was opening weekend, but it was pretty close to it. In terms of seeing it at home or just watching it other times, I honestly don't. I've seen it on TV quite a few times. I've watched it from Disney Plus a few times, so I don't really have an exact number, but I would say maybe 10 to 20, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie this time around. Like, I honestly went into this like, oh, maybe I'll put this movie on and then like play some games, like, grind some Fortnite or Destiny 2 Quest, kind of that kind of thing.
Right.
But legit, I put that movie on, and it just sucked me right in. Like, it wasn't until that maybe middle act that I kind of I played a little bit of Destiny, but then once it got to that point where they're about to go to Scarif, I'm like, okay, game's off. I'm all in on this.
So, lock in, baby.
Yeah. And it builds up slow, but then it's like just on all cylinders firing. It's awesome,
that third act is unreal.
And honestly, like this, I think I've grown to enjoy this movie more, just because, for one, just doing this show and this podcast, just getting deeper into the Star Wars lore, and then in the years that it's come out, I've actually gotten more into the action, like thriller, suspense kind of movies. Like I'm big one is Mission Impossible franchise. I hadn't watched that before this movie, and having gone back and watching that entire franchise, I love those kind of movies. Like, give me a great set of characters, give me a good heist, kind of spy thriller, I'm in. That's why Fast 5 is my favorite Fast and Furious movie.
Because it's the best one.
Yeah. So, this movie is just awesome. Like, the cinematography is awesome. Like I watched this on my 4K HDR monitor, and it just looks spectacular.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
I do want to add something too before we move on as well. Just not to stop you or anything here, Josh, but
no, good, all good.
Just in the way that I gave you a greater appreciation for the lore, Al. This reminded me of a note that I'd written down, which was something that I love about the Star Wars universe as a whole is the way that they can have these expanded materials come out and enhance these things even farther. So I would recommend to everyone, there is I know reading, but there is a novel.
I can't read.
Yeah, Josh is out. He's gonna have
audiobook.
Audiobook.
There's an audiobook.
He's never read a book in his life.
No.
There's a novel called Star Wars Catalyst. Yeah, for y'all got none of that. We're all just dying. There's a fucking a Star Wars novel called Catalyst, which is a prequel novel that was actually released before the movie, even that I read before I saw it for the first time in theaters, and it's about Galen Erso and director Krennic during Galen's time, essentially working. Like initially on the Death Star before he realized what it was and kind of what he was doing and left the Empire, and you get a lot of background information on just like who Galen is, and it helps give some additional context to things that are kind of mentioned within the movie but aren't the most crazy important things in the world. But you do get to see the relationship between Galen and Krennic, and so like the thing at the beginning of Krennic being like, dude, you're a great scientist, but you're a terrible liar. Like that's all kind of stuff that's built up within the novel. So there's that scene when the recording of Galen is talking to Jin, and he's like, I did the one thing that nobody thought I would ever do, is lie. It's a thing that's set up in the novel a bunch of times that he was horrible at it, and eventually like turned that around to use that to create a weakness in the Death Star. You also get to see a lot of the rivalry between Krennic and fucking, why can't I remember his name now? Tarkin, thank you. Yeah. And how it really was kind of Krennic's baby, and Tarkin came in and said, "You made this, I made this," and you get to see a lot of the back and forth between them, and it's really, really good. I highly recommend it. And you also get to see little baby Jin in it, and yeah, very, very good. Highly recommend it. It only serves to enhance the movie without being required reading or whatever.
Right. So, if you know me, and unfortunately some people know me, I am not the highest on this movie. This was the thing that like I think this put me on to like, oh, hot takes, some other Josh. All this dude has is hot takes, because
it was one of your first.
It was one of my first. I'm just like, this movie, I think I liked it more this time around. I still think it's like, it's fine. It's like, it's good. It's not great. It feels to me, this felt still more like a generic action movie than Star Wars, and at times it definitely does feel Star Wars. It's just like the way we're jumping around a lot in the beginning, going from planet to planet. The fact that there's actual like they'll talk about a planet and then they'll still show a title card. I'm like, why? You literally just mentioned this planet in the scene prior. Why like?
It's definitely got some pacing issues.
There's some it's got there in the world.
Yeah,
gotta make it obvious for them.
I think I don't think the like Chris was saying, the characters are more there. Like I don't necessarily love any of them, and like this always gets compared to Halo Reach because it's prequel suicide mission. None of the people are making it out before, but like in Halo Reach you have like 6 to 10 hours to establish those characters. This you have like 2, and you're in and out.
It does kind of like remove some of the wind from scenes like Baze talking to Jin like right before they're about to go into Scarif, and he's like, "Good luck, little sister." And I was like, "You just met her."
Yes, literally. I forgot that was a scene in this movie, and I was like, "This isn't earned. Why? Huh? Listen, you've talked to her all of like twice, bro."
I mean, they did go through a lot, like, to be honest, but that is weird. But for me, I don't know. I gotta say, like, I didn't think they were all gonna die. I feel like that was a question going into the movie, like
who's gonna live? Yeah,
the way they were positioning the movie was like it's like a serious war film, and so I knew a lot of them were gonna die, or some of them were gonna die. I didn't know all of them were gonna die. So when you get to the very end and it's Jin and Cassian, and you just see like the nuclear blast coming their way, that was like, oh, okay, like,
Shit, yeah, they're all dying.
They all gone. They all gone.
Yeah.
I think with the character development, like, yeah, some of it's not great for all of them, but I think it kind of gets covered by the fact that the movie, once it builds up, it's just going so fast that you're like, oh, Bodhi Rook, like, who is this guy? Who cares? Like, he's a pilot. Like,
there's a grenade, he's done.
Yeah, and then he's dead. So then you're like, okay, whatever. Like, and then there is some like editing issues with like because like they shot the whole movie with Gareth Edwards, and then they're like, whoa, something's wrong here. So they got Tony Gilroy to come back and kind of reshoot a lot of it, which he's doing the show. So that's why I'm really excited about it, because I think all of his changes were the good ones. But Bor Gullet, that's a wild scene, bro. That's wild, bro.
Yeah. I kind of wish that had any sort of payoff whatsoever. It's wild that the Bor Gullet scene still made it in the movie. I was just thinking about that. I was like, this doesn't go anywhere.
You can take that out.
It doesn't change
the movie
nothing.
at all. You can take it out.
It's nothing.
And Saw Gerrera, he's in a completely different movie. He's in a completely different movie.
100%. He is, bro.
And so, like, I've always had issues with like some of the character motivations, especially with Andor, because like Andor, first of all, ableist, shoots a one-armed dude straight in the back. I was like, whoa, bro, it's kind of.
He was in a cast.
You're like, dude, he can't climb.
That guy wasn't cutting it. He can cut it, man.
And so
he was about to die with stormtroopers anyway. So I mean, he just like, eh.
And I remember people being like, oh yeah, not all the rebellion are good, and I'm like, yeah, I fuck with this guy, and then he can't pull the trigger on Galen, and I'm like, what? You just want some Janussi, bruh? Like, 100%. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this?
He knows it wasn't the right decision, man.
Well, and then he's like gaslighting her in the fucking ship afterwards. He's like, you're going through adrenaline, like you just like you're freaking out right now over nothing. And she's like, no, you K2SO like sold you out, man. You had a sniper rifle. You're trying to kill my dad. And he's like, nah, that's just the adrenaline. nah. Like, and he's like, I've made decisions for the Empire, but like I didn't pull the trigger. And it's like, well, why? Like, why are we not fleshing out these some of these character motivations? Same with when I watched this the first time through, I hadn't seen Clone Wars, so I didn't have any context for Forrest Whitaker. What's his character?
Saw
Gerrera.
Yeah.
Saw Gerrera.
And so now that we have Clone Wars, Bad Batch, and Fallen Order, I just don't believe that this dude would like stay behind. Like the extremist part I get, and the fact that he's like so mentally gone, and he's like, who's spying on who, and he's like freaking out. I'm like, this is an interesting take, but then he's like, this is the rebels like last chance to be like, hey, do you want to like form an alliance again, and like let's end this weapon? And he's like, nah, I'm good, man. I'm good.
Saw Gerrera's characterization works better now retrospectively than it did. Or retroactively than it did when it first came out, because a lot of people are like, one, that looks nothing like the dude that we saw in Clone Wars. Like, completely changed his design in between them. But also, it's we had a lot of media come out after this movie that kind of shows like how extreme that he got and did all these things. So I can believe that he gets to this one spot and then decides to hang it up, because. And this is kind of something that I don't know that works super well. The whole idea is that he's supposed to sort of be like this opposite coin flip to Vader, right? To where it's like, yeah, the rebel, like people on the good side can get just as extreme, to the point where they mimic like the sound effect when he puts the helmet. It's supposed to evoke that same sort of thing, yeah. And so him like just kind of literally having given his body to war and finally like kind of being done. I do think works, but it was weird that that's like the first time that we see him, and this is where
they sort of shown how he gets like that mechanical breathing apparatus, right?
No,
that or the feet. Seeing him with robotic feet, I was like,
oh yeah,
because
he's wearing the armor in Fallen Order.
Yeah. I don't know if you mentioned it in Rebels, Josh, but that I remember when Rebels was airing around that time, they had like a little arc with Saw, and people were like, oh, is it going to tie into Rogue One? And they leaned into some of the Death Star stuff with like the Geonosians constructing some of it, but they didn't really. But but yeah, they had Saw in that, and that was much better than what we got in the movie. But
oh yeah, and I think the thing I like really appreciated this time around, because I'd always said like, you know, my favorite thing about Rogue One is that it takes that like Rebellion era and puts it in 4K. You know, it's finally we're seeing X-wings in 4K. We're seeing, you know, the white classic Stormtrooper armor in 4K, and then also all the brand new armor design too, like the Scarif like beach guards are, oh my god, it made me like, I was literally looking up like
Scarif guards are so good that Hasbro releases the figure every single wave.
literally.
I just saw they're doing another one like next wave. I was like, stop!
Yeah.
No more.
Yeah.
I like the variation on the AT-ATs too on Scarif.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
AT-ACTs. Yes, sir.
Oh really? I didn't know that. Okay.
And
yeah.
that's I think that was my biggest takeaway this time too, is because like for the longest time people are like, oh, it's finally putting the wars in Star Wars, and I didn't buy that, but like everything on Scarif has 100% sold me, and if this is what Respawn's game can be, like if you can just capture that essence in first person of like,
I'm glad you mentioned
overhead.
I'm glad you mentioned
this
games.
is like perfect ground. Like, yeah, because literally, like when I was watching the Bad Batch, like that Bad Batch arc in Clone Wars, I was like, damn, I'd love to play this. And rewatching this last night, I was like, damn, I would love to play this.
It's so funny because I had a similar thing to where I was just watching this. I actually watched it like right before we got on the pod. I finished it around 6:30, which doesn't mean anything to you, the viewer, but it was right before we started recording this. And one of my thoughts is like once I hit the Scarif part, like specifically when like the Imperial garrison finally comes out and everyone comes out from behind cover and they're on the beach firing and stuff, and the X-wings break the shield barrier and they come in and the U-wings deploying more troops and stuff, and I was like, they can make a Battlefront film work.
No, literally.
Oh yeah.
Literally. Yeah.
We could absolutely get just another like war story movie easy.
Oh yeah, and like that was the other thing too. Watching this last night was I was like, I miss Star Wars anthology films. Like I know we ran it to like from 2015 to 2019. We ran it to the max, the point where like I felt like Rise of Skywalker was coming out and people were like so already just like, I'm tired of seeing like Star Wars movies. But now I'm like, I want them back. You know, I miss them. I miss just having these like one-off films that just don't have anything to deal with like the Skywalker saga, anything. I
want more side story films. Yeah, and like Disney Plus shows are great. So I love Obi-Wan Kenobi. I like Mandalorian.
Use it.
Yeah, literally. And Andor looks great, but I'm staring. I'm like, but I could also just go for like a sweet like action film, just like little 2-hour story. Give me a little something. The characters don't have to survive. I can never see any of the characters in that movie again. That's fine. Just I want a little something. I want to be in the theater.
Oh my god.
Jango Fett Origins.
give me
That's kind of
with Aaron Paul, but it's Potter.
So, before we get too far away from characters and talk about that, one thing I kind of took away from this viewing was that like kind of end scene with Jin and Andor, because like I remember that kind of feeling more romantic when I first viewing it because it's been a while since I had seen it, so. Yeah. Seeing that on this time, kind of like you see it in their eyes. It's like it's not romantic. It's more like I'm glad to not be dying alone.
Yeah.
So I thought it was one of those things. Like I just kind of picked up on that. I thought it was really cool. Like no, it's not. They didn't try to force the romantic relationship. It was just like Jin. She's literally had been on her own for 15 years. So she's just like I'm glad to not be dying alone. Basically, it was kind of like the look in her eyes.
Yeah, there was one scene when they're on the shuttle where Cassian was kind of giving her a look, but I'm glad ultimately, like you said, that they didn't lean into that because we didn't really need that.
100%. I also too like I felt like Jin was really like flip flopping from like I don't look up at the flag, and then she's like, nah, but rebellions are built on hope. I'm like, can you just?
It's fast,
please.
It's real quick.
Yeah, it's jarring.
Isn't that after she sees her dad though?
Yeah, it is. But it's like it's immediately she's like, okay, rebellions.
It's cool. It's 2 minutes after, which like I know I like harp on Andor and the dad, but like when Andor comes back after they have that meeting on Yavin 4 of like we can't go to war right now, and he's like he's just listening to all these politicians that are like,
what is she proposing?
Oh my god, dude, I was cracking up at that. I'm like this shouldn't be funny, but what is this? Who is this guy? Who is this guy? But like him leaving the war room and he's like, okay, a couple of us are like, we're with you. Like let's try this out. I was like, I did buy that. There was a solo level bit of cringe for Origin when they're like, what's your call sign? And he's like,
oh yeah, that's hilarious.
Rogue One. That was like one step below. That was
one
step below. Who is your people?
I'm gonna give that a pass.
I didn't mind it.
I'm gonna give that a pass because his mind was messed up by Borgullet. He doesn't know what
I don't mind Rogue One being the call sign. I think it works within the context.
I didn't like that scene, but like when Admiral Akbar is like
Admiral Discount.
Whoa. Your favorite movie, Last Jedi, the ship is named after him. Okay, put some respect on. That is the name of
the ship.
Put some respect on his name, man.
Yeah,
he had the cojones to make a move, man.
When he was like, Rogue One, may the Force be with you, after he's like sees this giant crater on Scarif, I was like, okay, that's pretty dope. But like,
oh yeah,
beforehand, like the Bodhi scene I get,
but,
which I'm glad.
Rogue One is a dope call sign.
It is a dope call sign. I just didn't like the execute. That was like roll credits. You said the name of the movie.
There it is. You said it.
Well, you said exactly.
You said that.
I'm glad we're bringing up the Boogala or whatever the fuck because
Borgullet.
Let me tell you,
Gondola.
Gondola. Because for the longest time, I've heard so much about these Rathtars that Han Solo is hunting and that's scene sucks, and it's like, but your favorite Star Wars movie does it too, okay? Like, just let's normalize some big tentacle monsters in Star Wars and stop complaining about it. You can't hate on the Rathtars and then be like, oh, Oogala Boogala is the best thing ever,
Yeah, I can do that. No problem, because the Rathtar scene also sucks. Let's just throw that there. They're both not great. They're both not great, and you can just take them out of the movies and be fine.
Exactly. Force Awakens, my favorite Star Wars movie. That's where I'm like, okay, time to go take a bathroom break.
Yeah. That's when I go pee. You get to watch Han Solo somehow run away from these things, despite the fact that Harrison Ford's 80 and clearly cannot run.
Also, kind of cumbersome in the Skywalker Saga Lego game.
But at least there's a like Raiders of the Lost Ark reference in that.
There is. That's very true.
Yeah. So one of the things we'd kind of touched on before that we like didn't necessarily like really jump into is I do kind of want to like touch on the problematic nature of development of this movie, because I feel like this was one of those like first movies where we're like, oh shit, reshots, like because the summer before this Fantastic Four stick with Miles Teller had just happened, and so like lots of bad reshots in that movie.
I remember really, really well all of the controversy behind Rogue One reshooting. Which is the thing to where I know still to this day, I think because of that, like still to this day, like the word reshoots is like a dirty word. Yeah, but 100%. It's an extremely normal thing to happen through the production of a film, especially because a lot of the times, I mean, when you have the resources that a company like Disney does, they're able to film a movie, sit down, look at it, and be like, "Uh-oh, this is shit. We can do more." Yeah. And that's fine. Like there's this group of people on the internet that just like tend to take reshoots as a bad sign, but I think the reshoots only helped this movie. Yeah,
this movie would have been, I think, because I think all the cool stuff we like the end battle on Scarif, the Darth Vader scene, all that stuff, I think that was all the Tony Gilroy reshoot stuff.
Originally, it had ended with Darth Vader like meeting Rogue One on the beach on Scarif, like, and that was kind of how they all died. And I guess they got to the end of the movie and they were like, wait, how did the rebels get the plans though? We're like, oh fuck.
We're feeling okay.
One key
first
detail.
Of all, yeah. First of all, like, okay, I don't necessarily buy that. Like, this movie patches the biggest plot hole in cinema history, like a lot of people necessarily say, right? Like,
no, that's a weird justification. You're allowed to like the movie and not have to like triple down on why it exists or something. Like, it's okay.
Plus, I'm like, if if the crawl of a Star Wars movie can't just give you the setup, maybe Star Wars isn't for you. You know, you just read that scroll and you're like, okay, I have the information I need. I can now just consume this movie. You know, and plus it's like also a feasible thing that a moon killer, a planet killer, has an exhaust port big enough for a torpedo to go through, shot by some dude using the Force, right? But like, yeah, that makes sense. And so, do we know the extent? Like, do we have a full, complete list of everything that's been reshot? Because that, like you're saying, that's crazy that they forgot to include the rebel plans.
It's my understanding at the very least, like that was where Rogue One was going to die, and so whether they beat Vader before or after the plans got out, I don't know, but I know that they decided to scrap basically like almost all of the Scarif stuff and start over. Like that's where the majority of the reshoots happened.
Interesting.
And then they just sort of kind of edited around a lot of the early stuff, which is why I think like the pacing is really, really weird at the beginning.
Right.
It's a lot of cuts and then scenes like Poor Gullet, which just kind of don't go anywhere that existed in a previous movie, you know?
I'm seeing a bunch of stuff about the first 10 minutes being a lot of the new stuff where they zip around everywhere. The casting scene, reshoot.
It would make a lot of sense just considering how much it jumps.
Yeah. And no kidding. Which, like, watching this, I completely forgot this movie jumped around this much. I'm like, damn. Like Rise of I thought Rise of Skywalker, like, obviously this movie isn't like as egregious as Rise of Skywalker, but Rise of Skywalker is giving me Oscar Isaac and John Boyega just having a blast. I'm like,
Rise of Skywalker kept that pace up the entire movie.
Literally. Versus like this
one slows down a bit. Yeah,
this slows down and then ramps the fuck back up for the ending. But also, like, I remember one of the trailers, like when Jyn goes out to rearrange the antenna to transmit the scenes, like she's faces down a TIE fighter, and so it's weird to me. Last night, she like pulls out a blaster just to like walk to a console. I'm like,
and then that's one of those editing things to where I was like, oh yeah, they definitely mess around with. Also, Cassian was in that TIE fighter, by the way, in the original version of that. Like he goes and gets her in the TIE fighter. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, because like when you guys are saying Darth Vader, I'm like, oh, that must have been like Darth Vader's like TIE interceptor coming down to like rain havoc on him. But no, I guess it's Cassian. Interesting.
Yeah. It would have been a very different movie. Like the third act, and the beginning of it appears to have just been wildly different, which is crazy.
Yeah,
but that's also movie making. I think that stuff is really, really well known about this movie because it's Star Wars. You know what I mean? And we're also at the point where people are clinically online at this point, to where I'm sure there have been tons of other movies that have had similar problems and gone through and completely reshot and all this stuff that we just don't know about it because film culture was really, really different at the time than it is now.
Right. So I just quickly, want to just get into some positives, some negatives. Do you guys like still have any like gripes with the film upon rewatching this? Is there anything this like oof?
So rewatching it today, the CGI still the CGI like with Tarkin and Leia,
like Leia's rough.
Well, yes.
It looks so good, but it's still kind of weird.
Like that uncanny valley,
especially comparing it to like what they did with Luke and stuff later on. That even looks different than this. Like this looks more like CG than the Luke stuff. Right. So on one hand it looks pretty good, but it's like still it's just.
I think if you think about it though, that's also 6 more years of technology to advance.
I would be surprised if that stuff gets touched up eventually. Like they've already touched up the Disney Plus release of fucking Thor Ragnarok, right? Like,
which
with the face
that needed it. It needed it. Don't get me wrong. So I knowing Star Wars' propensity for re-releasing versions with more technological advancements, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, maybe they did. Do you know if they did anything for the IMAX release?
They did not.
Interesting.
Okay,
they did not.
Interesting. Which
they just re-released the original because the movie launched in IMAX as well, and there were parts of it that are shot in IMAX. But the recent re-release, no, they didn't alter anything to it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like outside of plot stuff, like I think everything else like looks incredible and is like pretty well executed for the most part. It just, some of the choices feel more like an action movie than a Star Wars movie. But like, yeah, the biggest thing to me was all like the CG, and like I liked it when it was just like you see Tarkin's reflection in the window,
Yeah,
and you
I
see
was thinking the
Leia
same thing.
and you see Leia from behind, and it's like, okay, cut it there.
Yeah.
Let your VFX artists go home. They're to say you're done for the day.
They haven't seen their families in 3 years.
Literally, and then they're like, "No, sorry, you got an 80-hour work week. Time to like bring, like, time to like fully create, create.
Roll your bed back up under your desk. It's time to work again."
So, like, yeah, that's like my biggest biggest like gripe upon this rewatch is it's still just, like y'all said, that uncanny valley, and I don't know if Star Wars will ever get past that point, just because the legacy.
I think it needs to
of
stop.
Star Wars.
I think they need to just stop including these classic characters. The idea that Star Wars has to have like recognizable faces in it, I think just needs to die.
Yeah, like with living actors, like we have Bail Organa back, we have Mom Mothma back from like Revenge of the Sith, like that I was totally fine with. Except the first time Jin sees Bail Organa and then is like, yeah, okay, like I'm in. I'm like, how do you?
It made no sense. That was one of those. So that's really my only gripe that kind of stands to this day with the movie outside of the Borg Gullet thing, which is that there's, I think, a few too much stuff in the movie in the way of kind of like giving little things to the audience, just in its Easter eggs basically. So like Bail Organa shows up. And there's two shots of Bail. I just noticed I paid attention to this just this last time I watched it, where he walks up to the big round thing that they're at, and it even plays the fucking like Force theme, and I was like, cool, Bail Organa's back, and then it cuts to Jen, she sees it, and then it cuts back to him in like this close up, and I'm like, why does this matter to her? I was like, has she met him before?
Well, I would argue with that. Not only
it matters to us, the audience, but it's weird in the context of the movie.
He treats her a little more respectfully than General Draven does, and even Mon.
He doesn't say anything to her.
I guess that's more respectful than just dog and honor.
Yeah, he doesn't say anything to her. He shows up.
Don't say anything at
he
all.
shows up. She decides to join, and then the first time that we see Jimmy Smith speak is speaking to Mon Mothma.
Yeah, in which
it's
like
weird.
Cool that he's like, yeah, I have a Jedi friend. We'll get a transmission out to him. Like I was like, okay, that's
like I know a guy. Obviously referring to Leia and stuff. There's all of that. Although it's really funny that we learn in Obi-Wan Kenobi that he's got a direct line to Obi-Wan, but yet he still has Leia try and reach out to him anyway. Now that I think about it,
see again
because they had that connection.
Yeah,
Leia and Obi-Wan had that.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that. That's a discussion for another time.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Shit.
Oh, we found another plot hole.
But not a plot hole. Not a plot hole.
We're gonna need a whole spin-off anthology film to cover this one up, boys.
I do think it tries to go just a little too far in its
references.
In its Easter eggs and its references. We see like Dr. Evazan in Jeddah City, like 20 minutes before they blow it up. I was like, how they get to? When did they leave right after we see them to go to Tatooine? 100%. Like and then
yeah, they're heading to the spaceport or whatever.
Yeah, I guess maybe they're walking to their ship right there. But it's
literally
they didn't need to be in that scene, and then it's like I get wanting to have R2 and 3PO in every movie, but like. Yeah. That doesn't make sense. Yeah. They're on the ship later that they're watching take off.
Literally.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that. Ooh.
That's like goes back to the George Lucas connection where like his intention with the story was R2 is retelling like the Star Wars saga to the Wills or whatever. And then once Disney bought them, they were like, yeah, that's not really anymore.
Which though they do include, I like that Baze and Chirrut are labeled as like the guardians of the Wills and that sort of thing. That's a really I think how you do a really great Easter egg there in order to kind of like call back to Star Wars without being like, hey, remember this character from A New Hope? Like
right.
Showing another like religion in the Force
It was very cool.
They do a lot in the books and stuff, but this is like the first time we see it in the movie. So great way to add that to casual audiences.
And speaking of Easter eggs, go ahead.
Go for it.
I was just kind of transitioning to like the like all the projects that you see when they're trying to get the Death Star plans. Just how all the Easter eggs there.
Yeah, the hyperspace tracking and stuff like that from The Last Jedi. Like, I thought that was all cool, and like some of the names. And
I thought, what was it? Because I noticed this time around Project Black Saber, so I'm like, oh, is that a reference to the Dark Saber? So
interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a couple others that come up. I believe in just this most recent novel that I read, Shadow of the Sith. They mentioned like a project that was hosted on Scarif as well. Just stuff like that is really, really neat.
Mm-hmm. I need one more ad lib though in like a Disney re-release version where they're like Project Snoke.
What?
What could that be?
It's just fucking called Snoke.
Contingency plans in case the Emperor fucking gets blown the fuck up to like smithereens.
Right.
Help connect it to Mandalorian just a little bit more, just more connective tissue. But yeah, no, I'm right there with you. It's like either the Easter eggs are like, oh, that's blue milk. Who wouldn't be drinking, some blue milk? And then some of it's like, wow, we are like really, really just going in here. Like, I don't
like
necessarily
the blue milk one makes sense.
Yeah, the blue milk.
Dr. Evans showing up on Jeddah City. I'm like, okay.
No, and also I didn't need the Mustafar thing. Like, cool that we see Vader's castle.
What,
like,
bro?
Can you imagine
how for your aspirations? I was like, I was like, get out of here.
I genuinely do not mind the choke on your aspirations line, but I don't mind it at all.
We know from Anakin to Vader, he's a little quippy. He likes to have fun, man. He's a performer.
Apology accepted, Captain Nuda. But no, I love that scene. I genuinely do. How fucking rad would it have been though if we didn't see Darth Vader until he shows up at the end?
That's honestly probably like my biggest thing about it too. Is like I'd rather just like hide the Vader card right straight till the end, and then plus two like.
Or even just like the one line where Tarkin is just like, all right, set coordinates and contact
Vader's
Lord
coming.
Vader, and I'd be like, oh fuck, let's go.
Literally, that's all I really needed. Plus two, like watching this after Kenobi, in which we just got like an emotional Darth Vader scene that had me crying in the club to then come back to like this corny Vader. I was like, oh no, you're butchering my boy. So Aaron Roots, please download this full movie and just delete that scene out, and then just send it my way if you want to just give me my cut of this.
We can't forget too. This is the first time they do like they pull the Vader card. So at the time,
I mean, we hadn't seen him in years, years and years. Yeah.
But we were seeing him in Rebels
Anakin just slowly over Brett's shoulder.
I'm pretty sure he hadn't shown up in Rebels yet, had he?
Yeah, that's
like yet.
That's fair.
Am I crazy? Did he show up in Rebels first? What came out first?
Season 2 was 2015, so yeah, he was in Rebels
just before this.
I had that behind. It would have been close to each other then. Yeah, wow.
But then wouldn't that still be like you're having emotional battles and which like Ahsoka's finding out Darth Vader's identity and then he
2016, excuse me, sorry.
It was 16, yeah.
Interesting. So like right at the same time, that would have been like the December this movie was coming out.
Vader fans were eating good.
Interesting. Yeah. Anything you loved more on this time around? We got into some Easter eggs, some good, some bad, some ugly. Anything?
Something I think I don't know that I loved more, but that I just kind of sat there and really took in this last time was really the like costume design and character designs in this movie. I just think everyone looks rad as fuck. I love it's. For like the color grading on it is a little more desaturated than we usually see in Star Wars, but it's still a very colorful movie. And that in particular, there's lots of reds. I noticed like once you're in Jeddah and stuff. Something I noticed because I watched it on this monitor that I have here. Like Jin's jacket, always like brown on the outside, has a red on the inside. Like even as a kid, like she had like the red liner, and that continues to her vest when she's an adult. Was a neat little touch that I saw. I love like Benthic and Edrio, the two tubes guys that work for Saw's Rebels. They just look and sound cool. fuck, those guys are rad. Apparently they've been seen on the set of Andor, which is really, really cool. I hope we get to see them again, or if it's not them, then somebody that looks like them, and that's exciting. Right. Just everyone looks fucking rad though. The whole aesthetic of Rebellion era Star Wars, I just adore, especially like the Rebels of original trilogy era Star Wars. I think just looks so cool, and the way that they managed to take these new costumes, include like these really cool blues and outside of like the browns and oranges that we got in greens in the original movies, I thought was really, really neat.
I love that too, especially like on Scarif. There's like actual visual identity to the Rebels, which helped it make like actually put the war in Star Wars, as people have always been saying for the last 6 years. Where like by the time you're watching people die, you're like, damn, I've seen that dude like on screen multiple times. Like we're losing numbers here, like 100%.
Also, the U-wings are like one of the coolest ships ever made for Star Wars. I'm just throwing that out there. U-wing is sick as fuck.
All the armors, the brand new ships, like the blasters, even like all of it, incredible design. Brett, Alec,
For me, the big one was Tourette. Oh, he just really stood out to me this time around. Just I liked his character. I liked him. Just the way he acted. And then I didn't realize this, but his staff turned into a little crossbow.
Yes. That was like he was my biggest takeaway too this time. Like, and especially like we touched on the Guardians of the Will, right? For some reason I thought they were the children of the Force. Like that, like watching it last night, that's what I was like thinking they were. But like the Guardians of the Will, I really love their dynamic. Plus like the fact that, you know, he's a blind dude who can just see through the bullshit of like everything that's happening right now. And like I love when Cassian's talking about being in a cage and he's like, you carry a prison around with you all the time, like of your beliefs. And I'm like, damn, he just called you the fuck out right now. Like
just that, the line of when they put the bag on his head, it's like, you realize I'm blind.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I'm blind.
And so, plus too, like after like watching Daredevil 2 is all like cool to just see almost like a Matt Murdock situation happen in Star Wars, where you got a blind dude who just dodging blasters left and right, beating the ever living shit out of stormtroopers. Which also like shout out the fact that you actually see some pieces fly off the armor too, like Boba Fett and Mandalorian. That was always dope. And so yeah, he was my MVP this time around. Like I've always been ride or die for K2, but I was like, damn, Cheerio M-Way, you know, really stealing the show a bit for me.
Cheerio and Big Gun.
Big Gun. Brett, any big noticeable things this time around?
I think like I just appreciate the Cassian character more. He's super compelling to me. Just in terms of like being a morally gray rebel character. Excited to see him, you know, his origins, like for real. With Tony Gilroy, I'm excited as well. That connection again, bringing that back. I think this is gonna be the best Star Wars live action show besides The Mandalorian. Very, very excited. Yeah, the CGI, like besides the Tarkin stuff, I feel like the CGI Tarkin Leia stuff, I feel like the CGI with like the aliens, the ships, probably some of the like world design like felt more real than a lot of the other Star Wars stuff in TV and movies. It just looked awesome. Yeah, great score again. Yeah, awesome score.
Oh yeah.
And
Giacchino doesn't miss.
Yeah.
Now I wanted to ask, did you guys watch the Andor Disney Plus sneak peek?
No, I kind of wanted to just like wait until the show comes out.
Was that the one that was on D23 or specifically Disney Plus?
Well, they released it at D23 because Disney Plus Day happened during D23.
Gotcha.
So it came out on Friday.
I probably did then since we watched that.
It's also if you saw the re-release in IMAX, they played it there too. So they released it public like on Disney Plus for Disney Plus Day, but it's playing in theaters as well. It's like 10 minutes of a scene from Andor, as well as they showed the new like D23 trailer attached to it as well, and it was very good. Oh, this I've been saying this from the beginning. I want this on the record, right? Ever since they announced this show, I was like, yeah, Cassian Andor, cool character. Tony Gilroy directing, awesome. Shot on location, fuck yeah. This show is gonna slap. People have been sleeping on it up until they started these trailers. I fucking told everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't watch this trailer. I didn't watch any of this because this, like, I can't stand that one dude that's like, Cassian Andor.
Oh, so very damn good.
That is such bad.
You don't like Bootstrap Bill?
Weakest Skarsgård. I'm going on the record right
now. Dr. Selvig, man. Thor Dark World. Come on, dude.
No, come on,
my
dude.
boy disrespecting Bootstrap Bill Turner, bro.
That's the last like noticeable thing he was in was fucking Thor Dark World, and now he's Captain Cassian Andor.
We didn't talk about this. I want to bring this up because it's super dope, and I'm super excited about it in the show. It's obviously hinted at in the original Star Wars film. They hint at it in this movie, and then we're gonna see it for sure in this show. Is the Imperial Senate? A lot of people think, once the Emperor took over, it's full, easy going. But it's obviously he's in control, but like he still has to contend with the Imperial Senate because they make reference to like they can't just do whatever they want quite yet. So I'm excited to see some of that politic play, hopefully, in the show.
Yep, 100%.
Excited to see the politics at work.
It all looks rad too, man. Just like visually, again, Tony Gilroy fucking knows how to make a good looking Star Wars, man.
Mm-hmm. That's what we on that D23 recap podcast. We watched that trailer, and that's the three of us had said that this just looks so much better than the other Star Wars shows.
Yeah, and like this is definitely where I wanted to end the podcast off on, was just like, what's your hype levels for Andor? Now especially
through the roof.
Just watched
10, baby. I've been on 10 since they announced this show. Cassian fucking rules. I love Diego Luna. This show visually looks great. I can't wait, dude. It's gonna be awesome. This has been one of my most like anticipated Disney Plus shows since its inception. Right, once they showed it off and told us what the concept was going to be, I was like, hell yeah, sort of creation of the rebellion, like this deep dive into Cassian, who's this really, I think, extremely interesting, like the most interesting character from Rogue One, in my opinion. And then we're probably going to see a lot of like Shaw's like splintering off from the rebellion because of like how like militarized like he was and all this stuff. I think there's a lot there, and like Mon Mothma is essentially like the other main character of the show. That's fucking cool. There's so much here. It's 2 seasons already, 12 episodes. There's so much to play with. I'm so excited. I'm through the roof, baby. I'm there. I'm sky high.
3-episode premiere.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. Now the question is, will we see Jabba the Hutt in this show? Because we know Diego Luna wants to like touch Jabba. Will we see Jabba?
Season 2.
Because
Diego Luna's like, if I'm coming back for this, we gotta get Jabba the Hutt.
Get Jabba in this dish.
Build out that giant thing like you did in '83. Let's go, dude.
Alec, you 10 out of 10 too, man. On this hype scale.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd say again.
Nothing really to add more than what they already did. I'm ready for it.
Coming back, I've already had hot takes on this movie. I'm gonna say like I'm a 6.
Sure.
Still,
You just wait. You wait.
I like the things that interest me are definitely like still seeing the transition period from the Republic to the Galactic Empire. Very like some of the most interesting stuff from Bad Batch for me was a lot of that. Still seeing like the class, like the Phase 2 armor, but start to transition into the Stormtrooper armor. Like the fact that it's not shot on the volume and it's actually like cool. Practical stuff like that stuff excites me, and then like the spy stuff like to an extent, but still we got word K2SO might not be in until later in the season, so that's a massive just L right there. Just take it.
To kind of like piggyback off of the idea of the creation of the rebellion here too. I think we'll see less of the transition from the Republic to the Empire and more of just kind of the creation of the rebellion, just because Gilroy said up front that is like the show covers a 5-year period, and it's the 5 years before Rogue One. Right. So like the show will end leading into Rogue One. So I think at this point, like the Empire's the Empire.
Oh,
you know, and I don't know that there's going to be a lot of like Clone Wars holdovers still by this point in time, because it's already been like,
damn,
almost what, 15 years or so.
See, I didn't know this, so you just slashed my hype levels down to like a 4, probably to maybe even a 3. Because like I thought this was still closer to episode 3. So I was like, what are the odds? Maybe we see some Bad Batch. Maybe we see like a cloaked Rex. You know, similar to how we kind of got.
No, yeah. In fact, in the timeline, this takes place after both Jedi Fallen Order games and Obi-Wan. Like it's past all of that. Mm-hmm.
Oh shit.
Okay. Yeah, it's closer to New Hope than it is Revenge of the Sith.
All right. I'll give my final hype rating a 5 out of this.
Just for that.
just for that.
Just for that.
Knock down just to get a couple pegs, but I'm gonna say that's gonna do it for us here on this Rogue One recap, retrospective, rewatch. We're gonna be back with it next week. By the time you're watching this, you're going to hear our thoughts on the 3 episode premiere.
3.
So 3, holy shit. So get ready for a long fucking episode next week. That's all I'm going to say. If you want to see more of our Star Wars coverage / reactions to everything that just happened at D23, that is all up on YouTube, plus a ton of other content. If you fuck with us, you're eating good. If you fuck with Star Wars, you're eating good. That's kind of the point. If you like this podcast, give it a like. Let us know what you think of Rogue One down below. Is it really the best Star Wars movie since Empire Strikes Back? Bold statement. I don't think so. Fuck. I think
since episode 2, yeah.
Like fuck. I'd say like definitely not. We got Return of the Jedi. We got Force Awakens.
Literally any other Star Wars movie, I think maybe.
Yeah. Shit, I still even toss Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith. But yeah, let us know. Let us know if you agree with that. Maybe you think it's overrated like I do. And we'll see you on the next. This is the Waypoint. May the Force be with you, Rogue One.